NVIDIA. Obviously, we've all heard about NVIDIA, right? Maybe some of you guys are invested in NVIDIA. God bless you if you are. I have no fucking clue what this company is. I don't know what they do. I don't know why they're good. I don't know why they became the most valuable company in the world at one point. They like topped Apple and Google.
And Microsoft.
Like, what is going on? So Mark is like, I'm going to do a little deep dive and break this whole thing down. This might be redundant from some of y'all sophisticated financial folks out there. But for the rest of us that have no fucking clue and all these stocks are just a bunch of letters mashed together, I like to know why this company is so fucking special. Do you guys know?
No.
Okay. So Mark, talk to us about NVIDIA. Take us to the beginning. What is this NVIDIA thing?
I'll tell you this. If you put $10,000 into NVIDIA in 2019, right now it would be worth $120,000.
Okay.
If you put 10K into NVIDIA in 2004, today it would be worth $5.3 million.
Wow.
So it's just like exploding. I had no idea what it was. I'd seen it like on the ticker and I was like, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah.
So looked into it. Basically, this guy created a company in like 1996 at a Denny's. This guy Jensen Huang.
Okay.
He's Taiwanese originally, moved to Thailand,
in Stanford,
and then
right?
went to Portland where he grew up.
Oh, okay.
He got put into sick private school. So his parents sent him there. He was like 9 years old. And the private school was super cheap. His parents were in Thailand at the time, just sent him over. It wasn't actually a private school, it was a reform school. So he was his roommate when he was like 9 years old was like a 17-year-old like former criminal. And they became like best buds. And they like taught him how to like weightlift and shit. And he like helped the guy with his math. Like they became like best buddies when he was like 9 years old, like at this reform school.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right?
Didn't he have a nickname?
Yep.
I thought he had a funny nickname.
No, he did have a nickname.
Funny.
Jensen is actually his nickname.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
Shit.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And so literally he goes to school, he's just a genius kid, like graduates, skips a bunch of grades, graduates when he's 19 or 16 years old, and then goes to Stanford and then just like destroys at Stanford and then goes into computer science and becomes like an engineer designing chips and shit. And then in 1996, 97, these two guys come to him like VC guys and they're like, hey, they're at a Denny's. He loves Denny's, which is hilarious to me. That's like his favorite restaurant.
That's hilarious.
And they all meet at Denny's and they're like, all right, let's start a company. GPUs aren't really a thing yet.
What's a GPU?
A GPU is a graphic processing unit. All right, I'll explain more on that in a second. But basically, like computer graphics are just blowing up. Like, do you remember like back in the day you play a video game and like they were just starting to get computer graphics into it, and it was like, oh, this is fire. Like it's actual like 3D. Like you can move around and shit. It's not just like guys on a wall. Yeah. So he starts this company, and the company immediately does pretty good. They get investment from Sequoia Capital, which is like the biggest like VC group ever, gets a ton of money. But then all these other companies come in. Long story short, he beats out all the other companies because he bets the whole company one time. So they have basically 9 months to make a computer chip to make these graphics for these like movies and video games and shit, specifically video games. And as he's doing it, they only have 6 to 9 months to make it, where it takes like 2 years normally to make the chips any other time. So every other company's taking 2 years. He figures out a way to be like, fuck it, we're going to do it in 6 months. So they start dropping these chips every 6 months. And so they're iterating faster. They're making the chips better than everyone. And on top of that, they're making them faster than everyone.
How does he make them faster and better?
So basically, this is like kind of technical. For all of the gaming things, they have basically 32 blend modes that these developers are using to make the video games. And he basically goes, fuck the 24 of them. We only need 8 blend modes. And so
what's a blend mode?
A blend mode is basically like a way that they can program the game. That's the way I understand it.
Okay.
Again, I'm not fucking a computer science guy. But that's the way they're programming the game. So he basically goes, all right, fuck the 24. We're going to just
streamline the fuck out of the
We're going to do 8. And he convinces all the developers like, yo, you only really need these 8 blend modes. And they're like, all right, we'll try it. And then it works. And then he's able to come up with the chips faster and faster and faster and iterate on them faster and faster and faster. So he beats all these other companies that they're in the space at the same time and all of a sudden edges them all out. So now he's iterating super fast, bets the whole company, gambles, wins. And this is like going to the 2000s. He's focused specifically on like PC gaming. So then they invent the GPU. So the way that it was explained to me, like a CPU is
computer processing?
It's not computer, it's computational processing unit.
Okay.
So basically what a GPU is basically just like turbo for your computer. So like think like a graphics card.
Yeah.
So it makes all the video games you play on your computer way better.
Got it.
So he comes up with this GPU, and basically like the way that you can think of a GPU is that like computers have cores, and a core on a computer is like a PhD. So like imagine you gave a problem to like a PhD student.
Yeah.
And on a computer, they only have like 2. At the time, there's only 1. Now you might have like 4 or like 8 if you have like an 8-core processor. It's like crazy. But these are like super smart PhDs in your computer that can solve complex tasks. A GPU has 10,000 cores. But they're all dumber. So it's like a bunch of like kindergartners.
Okay.
So they can solve like plus and minus.
But they can't do the sophisticated
But
problems.
they can't do a bunch of sophisticated shit. But they can do really small things, and you can scale it out. You can put 10,000, 20,000 of these cores into a GPU. So it can do super specific things at scale really well. So you're able to put in your computer and have a GPU. All of a sudden, you can have like these really sophisticated graphics. They develop a new way where the GPUs can have like 3D shading. Remember like the early computer games? They would just have like the same lighting for everything.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, he comes up with a new way where all the lighting and shading is dynamic. So as you move through the world, all this shit is brand new. But it's still a video game company. So he's like making these video game things, and the company starts going crazy. They make like $1 billion, the fastest like computer company to make $1 billion ever. This is like into the 2000s.
Yeah.
So they're basically just like a computer company. He's making a bunch of money. Life is good. And then in 2007, there's a Stanford computational science guy, and he's trying to do these computations. And basically, what they're doing the computations for is like to do modeling. So like you're Boeing and you have a plane. You don't want to just like make a thing like a wing or something and then have to test it over and over in a wind tunnel. You can
test it on
You
the
can just
computer,
do it
yeah.
through models on computers. So the Stanford guy is doing this like super sophisticated computational science on computers, and Stanford has these huge supercomputers, and you put in a calculation, and you're like, all right, let's see what the calculation gives us, and it might take like 5 days to get
So
an answer.
modeling is just putting this thing into a scenario and then seeing all the different outcomes.
What happens?
So instead of flying the plane with really bad wind and
Yeah.
seeing if it lands or not, that's too expensive, because if it doesn't, it explodes. You can run it through these models and you'd be like, oh, okay, these wings aren't sufficient. It would have crashed. Oh,
Exactly.
these wings are good, but the fuselage is too bad. Boom. Okay. got it.
Exactly.
So this is the model.
So then a bunch of different companies are doing different types of modeling, and they're kind of relying on these computer science guys to do the modeling, but the supercomputers take so long. This is like 2007. So the guy that's a Stanford like computational scientist, his kid is a video gamer, and he's like, oh, Dad, you should get these like processing chips from Nvidia. I'm using them for my computer to play video games. What if you use them to try to like solve this equation? And so the dad goes out to like a Best Buy or whatever, buys a bunch of chips, stacks them all together, puts the computation through the chips, and basically is able to solve it in like 3 hours.
And it usually takes
5 days. So then he called Jensen. He's like, dude, thank you so much. You made my life so much better. Hangs up the phone. And Jensen's all of a sudden like, wait a second. Our like computer chips for like video games is like helping solve like science problems. Like that's crazy. And then it goes into this new thing, which is basically like the birth of AI, which is like 2012. There's these guys at the University of Toronto that basically, they have this competition every year where they give them like 20,000 images, and they have to create a computer program that can identify what the images are.
Yeah.
And at the time, they would do it every single year, and like it'd be like, oh, 50% accuracy in like 2006. And then it was like 52% accurate 2 years later, and then 55% accurate. And so then these guys at the University of Toronto start using these NVIDIA chips, and they're able to get it with like 90% accuracy.
Wow.
And
Which
this
is like,
sorry, go.
it's just like a huge leap. That is like a categorical like
And
jump.
This is the thing where you're signing into YouTube or whatever it is, and it asks you to click all the images that have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
So what you're basically doing is notifying the GPU what a sidewalk looks like. So if that GPU has something, to get it right. So you're throwing 100,000 little things at a task, and the ones that get it right, they get rewarded, they stay, and these ones die off. And then you just run it again and run it again and run it again. Ideally, you get, I think that's how this predictive stuff works.
Exactly. So it's able to like predict a bunch of stuff, but everyone's like, oh, is it able to like comprehend things?
Yeah.
So like when it comes to like language models, like ChatGPT and shit, it's like, okay, you can predict what word comes next, but if you're translating to a different language, you can't really predict what comes next, because different languages have different orders of words. You know what I mean? Like United States, French or Spanish is all flipped around.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help predict it. So it's like, can it understand it? And at the time, everyone was like, no, we're too far off from understanding it. So basically, he sees all this happening with the NVIDIA chips, like being able to like predict things through AI. And the NVIDIA chips, again, are so good because they have all of these cores that can do things all in parallel. So like in the way that the video game, like you would have different pixels that needed to populate stuff on a screen all individually without relying on the previous pixel. All of a sudden, with these GPU chips, they were able to put the pixels up on the screen all independently, and it was able to make the video game amazing. And that's the same exact process that it takes to create like a large neural network for AI.
Oh, fuck me.
And so he's realizing this, and he's like, oh shit. Now they're pivoting their like video game company into an AI company.
Right.
And everyone is like, all right, Jensen, this seems like it's kind of crazy. Like you've already bet the company twice in a row, and like we've had these huge monumental gains in revenue. Like we're making billions of dollars. Why are you going to put the whole company?
Fuck it up.
Like it's so risky, right? And so he's like, nah, fuck it. And then he starts developing these products for AI. And now basically like since 2012, it seems like all of like these neural networks and all the AI boom that's happened has come from this NVIDIA hardware. So in a time where everyone's like trying to catch up to be like, oh, how do we make chips for AI? How do we do it? They've already had 18 years of experience of like creating these processors that can run all of these equations in parallel. So they're not serial, which is just like, they just had such a lucky like time. There's basically this gold rush and NVIDIA is selling like the pickaxes.
Wow.
And so they blow up. And then as AI obviously is like exploding, one of the guys from the Toronto school that did the very first like AI boom that predicted all the images, one of those guys ended up co-founding OpenAI, I believe.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So like he's already involved in AI. He links up with Altman and Elon, and they go into OpenAI together. And so basically NVIDIA is like the GPU processor that now is like lifting up the entire AI boom,
So
which is like the invention of the day.
It's like the Amazon Web Services
Yeah, basically.
of AI.
Did people tell you to invest in? People told me to invest in 2020. A couple people on IG, and I was like, I don't know what that.
I think that's when I got in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nice, good for you.
Not a lot of money.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Really. I think I told you guys this. My stepfather-in-law. Is that what it's called? He was
Said
like,
silver.
well, it was at the same time I did silver.
Silver and NVIDIA.
And he was wrong about that silver, bro. It was super wrong. And I was talking all that shit about silver. I didn't know what the fucking NVIDIA was.
And then Bitcoin actually was a part of this also, because like for Bitcoin mining, basically you just have to like put in a bunch of computations to like
That's
solve
right, it's
something.
problems so you can
Exactly.
use the...
So it's just a bunch of math. And so it's simple arithmetic. It's just like plus this, minus this, multiply this.
GPU processor
But because the
perfect for
GPU is all parallel, it's able to do all of these really simple things, but at scale, they're able to run all the Bitcoin mining on it. So that was like one of their big booms in like 2017, 2018.
The gamers were really pissed they couldn't buy processors for
Because they're
computers.
all being gobbled up by the crypto fund.
Exactly.
that.
So then they see this and they're like, all right, let's pivot. Let's make a crypto mining GPU. And then they come out with that. And then they're like, oh, AI is popping. Let's make an AI GPU. And now they're selling all these GPUs, but now all these companies are like, oh man, the GPUs are like kind of difficult to use because we need like a computer science engineer to come in and actually set it up. So then he starts selling bundles and then creates a CPU to deal with all the GPUs. And he's selling them for like hundreds of millions of dollars. Jesus. So like he's going to McDonald's, he's going to Walmart, going to all these companies being like, yo, here's a $200 million contract to get our bundle that's going to do everything for you. And like basically be your own
AI.
Like, yeah, now they have like a cloud computing thing. They've written their own code for it, CUDA, which is basically like a software language and a platform that like exists for all the NVIDIA hardware. So they've become like a hardware company and a software company that started as a video game company that now is like leading the AI boom. So it makes a ton of sense why it's the biggest company in market cap. But the whole
Because if
shit
AI is the future, and they're
Yeah.
the tip of the spear. They're the whole spear. They're the entire spear.
yeah, basically. And there's other companies that are trying to catch up, and like
They're
whether
so far behind.
and whether or not they can hold is like a question of, you know, how good their leadership is and like how well they can like dominate the market. But it seems like they're holding out. And then the name is actually kind of funny. It's like I didn't know what NVIDIA was, but like so they were saving all their files in the early days as NV. So like they were doing NV files. There's like a new version, and so they were like, all right, what's like a word that has like NV in it? And so they find this Latin word for envy, literally like being jealous. And they're like, oh, the Latin word for envy is NVIDIA. And so they're like, let's just do NVIDIA. And because we'll be like the envy of the industry. So they made their color green for like envy to make everyone jealous and shit.
Wow.
Kind of fire.
Yeah, that's
But I had no idea. And so now there's like all these sanctions where like the government stepped in. They're like, all right, you can sell these bundles and shit, but you can't sell them to China. And so now they're able to like parse the bundle into like a bunch of different like cores and GPUs and stuff. And they're able to sell that to China, but they can't do certain things.
All the work together, yeah.
And so now there's like all these like legal loopholes they're jumping through. But then the question is, if we block China off, are they going to develop their own AI and their own thing separately? And then who knows what that can do? Can it be better? Like if we just injected the NVIDIA stuff into China, we would have some control over it, but now we don't have as much.
Or they would just deconstruct it and then create their own anyway, which is what they do with everything.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, they don't adhere to any of the copyright laws. They'll just take whatever we do and they'll just make their own version
Exactly.
of it.
So then the stock is like super valuable. Everyone's buying in. It goes crazy. And then like apparently some of the internal people like sell off because they're like, dude, we just hit the jackpot. Like I had, you know, like a 0.01% of a share in 1996 and now it's worth $1 million. Like, let me sell. And so now like the stock is dropping. So like there's some volatility with it, but it seems like it's like arguably
Correction.
going to be the biggest company ever.
When was COVID?
2020.
Oh, yeah. So maybe it was during COVID that I put some money in there. Remember I went to Colorado?
Yeah.
I did that hot air balloon shit?
I don't remember that, but I remember you telling us you got into silver.
That was it. That was around that time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. So I'm like, not legal, not financial advice, but I'm like, should I invest money into Nvidia? It seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Is it too late now?
It's never really.
I don't know.
too
I mean,
late.
it's on a dip right now. So if you buy now, it's
Buy the dip
Today.
because if AI is the future, which once you start to dabble in that AI shit, bro, like I don't know if you're using it for your life at all.
Yeah.
Are you?
I use it every day.
I haven't been able to use it functionally in terms of like it making my day to day more efficient, but I've been able to use it for like moments. Like I'll just ask it random questions that I don't know how to Google. Like you ever want to ask Google a question like it's a person?
Yeah.
You know, like, and that just doesn't exactly work.
Yeah.
Like, am I tall enough for a Suzuki? Am I too tall for a Suzuki Samurai?
Huh.
Like, if you type that in Google, like Suzuki Samurai videos will come, where to buy a Suzuki Samurai. Here's a YouTube video, like maybe the person's whatever. But I typed that shit into ChatGPT and ChatGPT, and I said, I'm 6'2". And it was like, it is a smaller car. It might be an issue for you height-wise. That being said, there's a roof that you can take off, so you have more room. That like, it just started giving me the information that was more exact that I wanted.
yeah.
So I've been trying to do that for any question. I'm trying to use ChatGPT first.
And this one might be an answer to your question. If somebody told you in 2011 to buy Apple, you'd be like, they got the iPhone. How much higher can it go? It can keep going higher. That might be the answer.
People are barely using AI. If they're an AI company, and we assume that is the future, and people are barely using it, like this isn't even close. What I would look at is if there's another company, because there's going to be competitors, right? I would also look at if there's another company that's like on the rise and you can get in early there. There might be more opportunity for like extreme growth.
Yeah, but it's not a bad idea to have this mixed in.
Yeah. And so like right now their market cap is like 3 trillion.
That's
What
nuts.
does that mean?
So basically like all of the shares that are out owned by the public as well as like private employees.
Based on
worth
its
of those.
current rate
Yeah.
is $3 trillion.
Yeah. So like the news was like, yo, they lost 500 billion or something over the weekend. And it's like, yeah, that's a lot of money. It's not good.
But
But you look at against a $3 trillion value.
3.5 trillion to 3 trillion. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're still, it's unbelievable. And so this dude is betting the company over and over and over. He's like, all right, we're going to make faster chips. We have to. And they were like, how do you know the chips are going to work? This is back in the 90s. How do you know the chips are going to work? And he was like, well, if they don't work, we'll be out of business.
so we'll make them work.
And so to do the chips back in the day, literally like they would get the chips, they would test them, find all the bugs, send it back to the fabricator in Taiwan. They would fix it, send it back, and that's why it took 2 years. But they just did all the like testing of it like digitally, and they were like, we just have to test it and do it all in the computer to see if it works. And if it works, then
And this is an American company. It's all being done here.
No.
So why
Well,
we put so much
no,
stock
no,
in
no.
Taiwan?
it's getting the actual
made
chips are
there.
getting fabricated in Taiwan.
And I don't understand why we can't just create factories that fabricate them here.
Our
Yeah, I
hands
know.
aren't small enough.
I mean, they are small. These chips are very small.
No, he's saying our hands are small.
Yeah. The chips are too small, bro.
Yeah,
Like, they're
yeah.
so tiny.
But yeah, why is that? It seems like you could create a factory is the easiest thing to create,
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is.
right? Like if you have the technology
They're probably,
and you have the know-how, I feel like scaling a factory is easy.
Yeah.
maybe they're getting paid really low.
Let me look. Let me ask ChatGPT.
Like, cost analysis wouldn't be beneficial to do it here because we'll have to pay them more.
Maybe, but I thought that Taiwan was, I think, what they call like a newly industrialized nation. So it's like a booming economy, like a second world country that's like now first world, and because of that, you're going to have like higher minimum wages. And
I've heard it takes a lot of effort to create the infrastructure to build them, and because it's already in one place,
okay.
you just sort of go. It's like
So it's very hard to build them. So it's not as simple as like an assembly line for a car.
Yeah, I think it's super technical.
I think it's like watchmaking, and why it's still sort of like in Switzerland. It's just there is a lot of knowledge like concentrated in that one area on the process.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, ChatGPT is like high cost to like build it, like effectively workforce shortage, government incentives. So apparently there's like high government incentives to like do it in Taiwan.
I mean, they better keep making them shits. That's the only reason they Taiwan. Right? Like the second they stop making them,
It's China.
it's China.
Yeah. So it's just wild. Like the amount of times this guy went in and like bet the whole company.
That's awesome.
And just like pivoted a bunch of different times and just saw things that other people didn't see.
Has he done a bunch of pods?
He's done a handful.
And how's his English?
Great. I mean, he like grew up in Portland since he was like 9 years old.
Oh wow.
We have to get him on
How
the
much
spot.
is he worth?
love that.
I would think he's
He's the
richest
future
man.
richest man in the world, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean,
there
right
already?
now,
I would
his,
think he was
his
there,
net
man.
worth, I think, is like 25 billion or something like that. But I don't
That's
know.
it?
I don't know if that's like public, like with his shares and everything. I mean, let me look.
Yeah, that's with his shares, I would imagine.
110 billion. Excuse me.
Now that's
Sorry.
Yeah, it's more like
So yeah, he's making it away.
He's gonna be the first trillionaire, I think.
I mean, at this point, and he's kind of sick too. He like works out. He wears leather jackets and all those things.
Dude, he's out. There's a picture of him signing boobs somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's just
that's
like he's
lit.
kind of a G. He's
Yeah.
just like I don't know. He's a sick dude. But it just blew my mind. I had like seen this company blowing up all over the place, and I didn't know anything about it.
It might be the most successful company that people really don't know what they do.
Yeah.
Like I think people are aware that it's like chips, but I don't think they realize they're investing in well, the investors, yes, but like the average person, I don't know if they know that it's an AI company essentially. There was a video game chip processing company.
Yeah, and like that was the thing
What
that
world do we live in where knowledge is so separated?
Yeah.
yeah.
And wow, how the biggest company in the world, people don't even know what it does?
Yeah.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
How isolated or in our own little bubbles are we?
Yeah.
quite.
Yeah.
But
incredibly.
could that happen when we were children?
Yeah.
I don't
maybe
know if there's
maybe
the
with
big-
microchips.
But when we were kids, think about the biggest companies in the world. We knew more or less what they did.
Saudi Aramco, I'm trying to think like what would be the
Yeah. I
biggest
mean,
ones?
Alphabet, like Google,
That's Google,
Microsoft, Apple,
obviously.
Lilly,
Yes.
Eli.
Amazon.
Amazon done.
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway.
I wouldn't know Berkshire Hathaway.
I knew that it was a company that owns a bunch of companies. Like that's Berkshire Hathaway isn't a business. Like you're investing in his portfolio. If I'm
That was
not
Romney,
mistaken.
right?
Say again?
Romney.
No.
No, that's
No,
not
it's-
Buffett.
Oh.
Yeah, Romney's Bain.
Bain
Capital,
Bain
yeah.
Capital, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just crazy.
That is a peculiar thing.
Yeah, in my mind it's the equivalent, and I'm just drawing this connection just personally, but like John D. Rockefeller, like when he first started like oil refining, it's just kind of used for like gas lamps and stuff. Like he starts oil refining before the Industrial Revolution like really takes off. So he's like selling like oil for your lamps and like light your house up and shit. And then all of a sudden the Industrial Revolution happens and everyone needs oil, and he's like, oh well, I own all these refineries, and then tees it up and then just takes over everyone. So like Nvidia, there's another AI company that's like, or like hardware company that's building the GPUs, and Nvidia will just be like, here's 20 bill, we'll acquire you. You know what I mean? Like if I'm like a software engineer right now, I'm going to develop a small nascent competitor to Nvidia to try to get acquired. And then they'll just give you $1 billion to go away.
Why aren't we doing that right now?
Right? We just
How
make
is
a
that
chip.
difficult?
We're not smart enough, guys.
I don't
I
think.
don't want to admit that.
Yeah, I think we could do it. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark just learned that in a night.
That's what I'm saying. So let's just say we're doing it, and then maybe they'll give us a mil.
Yeah, we could say we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. We
Dude,
got
this is
5 years communication. Though.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
a
come
communications
on.
degree. I think I could do this.
We're
I
all
think we
college
got-
grads. Dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, is this a function of like the internet completely compartmentalizing our knowledge base?
I also think it's just out of the realm of comprehension of most people. It's AI. It's such a new technology. Even Bitcoin, we weren't that siloed, but none of us really knew what the fuck the blockchain was in 2011.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just saying, like, the biggest company in the world, usually people would know what they do. And I'm sure there are a lot of people like, yeah, idiot, we know what they do. We invested in them. You guys are the idiots that haven't invested. Sure.
But we
Great.
represent the common person.
I think we represent, the normals. Like,
Yeah.
I think most people hear about it. They see the guy, but they don't really know what's going on.
scenario. Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if that's what happens. Like, there used to be, like back in the day, the way that information was disseminated is, these channels had to go, what will most people like? Right? I'm not going to just create content for Asians and Indians and conservatives. They're like, what do most people want to learn about today? And this would probably fit into that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like the most successful company. I'm going to explain it to you. But now, if it doesn't in some way satisfy your base's thirst for validation, you don't have to teach them about it.
Yeah.
And if people aren't invested in it, they're like, I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't want to know why it's good.
Yeah.
It's also because most people aren't touching it. You know what I mean? Like when Windows dropped, like Windows, what was the one that like everyone went crazy
95?
for?
90,
Yeah, like
yeah.
that was
Was it
like
95?
95 or
Microsoft
98,
dropped this
something like that.
thing that I went out and bought, or like Apple dropped an iPhone that I went out and bought.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like Amazon is a company that I use every day. Whereas like Nvidia, people are using it. I don't even know if they know they're using it.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels a little bit similar to, and maybe you were early adopter, but like, remember when crypto got to the point where you just had to buy something because you had so much FOMO? Do you remember all of us? I think it was like around Miami time. It was just like, even if you got $50 in, you're like, what the fuck is happening? Everybody's a billionaire now? What's going on?
I wasn't that much earlier than that. But yeah.
But it was around that time. You
Yeah.
started to feel it. You're like,
Yeah.
there's something happening here. It's exciting. Only this is based on reality.
Yeah.
Like this, it's like, imagine Bitcoin could actually do something.
Yeah.
That's this
And
company.
this is the only company that has returns close to what Bitcoin gave people.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
The only
Holy
difference is that now
shit.
this is in like people's retirement portfolios. So like I think like the average retirement portfolio has like 5% exposure to Nvidia. Whereas like Bitcoin, most like retirement portfolios don't have Bitcoin. So like now like the American economy is almost like floated a little bit by this company.
That's crazy.
Like it's kind of like consolidated in terms of like what the NASDAQ
Dude.
or what the S&P is like holding on to.
You know what's interesting is it's almost like beneficial to Nvidia that people don't learn about his pension to bet the whole company.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
if your retirement money is in this company and this guy every once in a while on a whim goes, yeah, I'm going to pivot and bet the whole fucking company.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
So let me say, he would actually say, I didn't bet the company. Like from the outside, from speculators,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what is he doing? But for him, whenever he talks about it, he's like, no, I was 100% sure this is what the thing was. And when we pivoted to that and we kind of focused our energy on that, I was like 1,000,000% certain that it would work. And so he's like, they're not bets, they're guarantees that they're going to happen. So he's very confident the way he talks about it. They're like, nah, when we go in on something, it's the future.
yeah.
But he just sees shit that other people don't see. And which is crazy because I'm over here being like, yo, how did I miss this? Like, if I put 10 grand in 2019, I'd be.
You would
People were
already-
telling me to
$100,000.
buy it, and I was like, I don't know. It just sounds weird. What's the name?
But there's like,
Ah.
there's tech VCs that are like tech hedge funds that are literally like managing people's money. They didn't see it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's
yeah.
not like we are dumb for not seeing it, but there's a lot of dumb people that were like, is AI really where it is? Like,
You know what gives me a little bit of solace is somebody said this. It's like, yeah, if you invested $5 in Bitcoin back in fucking whatever 2000, whenever it started, you'd be a billionaire by now. I would have yanked that shit out of $50.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second 10x,
Yeah.
10x.
yeah.
I'm rich, bro. 10x.